I would like to welcome the first biologist of marketing, I guess. You just wrote a book, Biology. I haven't read it yet, but
why not?
Didn't have time yet. Too much work. But that's on my to-do list. Well, I would like to ask you one question to warm you up. Do you love your smartphone?
I don't have a smartphone.
You don't have a smartphone?
No,
Why don't you have a smartphone? That's a follow-up question.
If you have a smartphone, you have no life. So I decided consciously some years ago not to have smartphones because I want to try how to live without a phone. I want to see how it feels like. And it makes me become much more aware of what's going on and observe people. Because the problem is, if you have a smartphone, you're not present. You live in a cloud. And when you live in a cloud, you're not observing things. And a very big part of my life is to observe people and learn from surroundings. And I can't do that when I'm living on a display.
But if you don't have a smartphone, can you understand that, let's say, 21-year-old users who do have smartphones and their life is basically a smartphone?
I'll tell you a secret here. I can't be pregnant either. And I actually don't feel like a 65-year-old with going with crutches as well. And by the way, I don't wear baby clothes and I don't use toys which are for kids which are 4 years old. But that's all brands I work with every day. So the reality is that I think if you're good enough, you can put yourself into the mindset like a chameleon and live people's lives. That's the reason why I do what I call ethnographics. That is the reason why I move in with consumers and spend time with them. And what's so interesting is when I'm not people but I live their lives, everything becomes clearer. I mean, when you arrive here in Poland as an outsider, you see things you don't see because you're too close to the forest to see the trees, and that makes you stronger. And actually, quite often, it actually gives you a perspective on businesses, and you see opportunities which you never will see before. So, in fact, I think it's fairly easy to understand the young generation as long as you are not falling into the trick of somehow playing on their games across every dimension. You always need to combine it with a perspective from outside.
Okay. Well, I wrote down one question that I wanted to ask you, is that you were talking about a lot about the consumers and how you can use them in marketing and obviously how you can use them in research. Do you think that the consumer is now becoming the influencer actually?
The consumer is the influencer. It's not thinking they are. I mean, a brand can be destroyed based on influence from 50 people, which are just loud enough online. So a brand has to take it very seriously. And I don't think companies today are geared to behave quickly enough in order to react to consumer feedback, which may not be positive. So brands need to understand they have to be 24/7 brands, which are reacting incredibly quickly to whatever feedback they get from their surroundings. And if they don't do that, they'll fall behind. So it's more a mindset change inside the organization, right?
Is it happening though?
It's happening to some extent. I think a lot of my work today, working with brands around the world, is to change the whole organization. So one thing is, of course, you come up with a beautiful brand, but if the brand is working in isolation from research and development or innovation, if it works in separation from distribution and logistics and everything else, it suddenly falls apart, that whole picture, and people get a crappy service when they're receiving the package, which is now damaged. Well, it's nothing to do with marketing, but it's everything to do with it, because if it's damaged, it destroys the brand. So the ecosystem between the divisions and companies have to work much closer together. So one of the first things I do is to make things work together. And I do that by taking all the executives from companies into the homes of consumers, where they firsthand are seeing how they live. And once they do that, they forget about politics and saying, hey, we have to reorganize our organization. And that's, I think, the future, because you cannot work in silos anymore. It doesn't work.
Okay, well, Martin, I would like to thank you for this really quick interview. And one last question, how do you like the forum?
Oh, it's fantastic. I love it. You guys are always very professional and you have great speakers. But most importantly, I think you're following times right now. So the speakers are really matching with what's happening in our world today. So I'm proud of being here. And I'm very proud of seeing that Poland as a country also take the discipline seriously. And certainly the quality of your conferences can match itself with any conference in the US, so well done.
Is there a speaker you're eager to hear?
No, I'm not, because I'm actually jumping on a plane to Sao Paulo in 1 hour. So I would love to, but I'm going to get the video tips later on.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and have a nice flight to Sao Paulo.
Thank you.